And we are live. Happy Martin Luther King's Day to everyone. Thank you so much for joining me. And you are live on Omi's production studio. Thank you so much for joining me. And as you see the advertisement, it is a holiday and we're celebrating. You see, I have the special head rag on, so I'm celebrating. I'm in celebration mode. How's everyone doing this evening? And has anybody seen my old friend Martin? Can you tell me where he's gone? Has anybody seen my old friend Martin? And can you tell me where he's gone? You see, he freed a lot of people, but the good, they die young. I just looked around, and now he's gone young. I just looked around. I just looked around, and now he's gone, gone, gone. Has anybody seen my old friend Martin? How's everyone doing this evening? Thank you so much for joining the caravan. We are going to be talking this evening and doing poetry. Now, I look back over my poetry and I discovered that Nikki Giovanni was on my page. And out of all of the times that the technology had failed us, that particular time I grieved over the failure of the technology. Nikki is my motivational encouragement. Nikki was the one that encouraged me to be a poet. And she's still around with us today at 70 years old. And I'm going to beat Nikki out and I'm going to ride or die with her all the way to the hundreds. Yes, I am. And this is dedicated to Nikki Giovanni because she encouraged me as a young girl to do poetry, because she gave me a style and a way of using the poetry to infuse the people. Nikki, this one is for you. I hope you get a chance to view it, Nikki, because you've been a great inspiration to me and encouraging me, just like Maya Angelou, who gave me her courage to stand on the stage and to start reciting poetry at 48 years old. That's right. Whatever rate, is never too late to start your poetry writing. And I have started my poetry writing. I'm trying to get enough courage up where I can stand up and do it without my book. I'm trying to get enough courage where I can stand in the center of the stage and command an audience. So this evening we will be doing poetry, and I'm encouraging you to get your poetry out. Last night I did a speech. It became choppy because of technology. So in between the poetry, I'm going to deliver a speech. After all, it is Dr. Martin Luther King's birthday. And I've asked the question already. Has anybody seen my old friend Martin? Can you tell me where he's gone? You know he freed a lot of people, but the good, they do die young. I just looked around. I just looked around, and he's gone, gone, gone. Yes, Martin is gone, but his spirit has been left back here with us. Ladies and gentlemen, we have been sent for a loop. They have tried the indigenous okey doke on us by making us think that we have finally found our heritage and our ethnicity. And they sent us on a wild goose chase. And they had us running after something that we already had, and that was our nationalization. Had us looking under every nook and every rock, trying to determine our blood quorum and determining if we were a nation or a clan. Well, we've always been a nation, and some of us are even clans. And I want to say for the record, if we couldn't get any reparation out of our title as an indigenous person, then what good would it do us to claim indigenous aboriginal? They gave us the okie doke before when they pretended to fulfill our treaties, and they failed to reinforce the treaties. We went through hell to stand in lines as they questioned us about our blood quantum, and our family members marked their X and claimed copper tone Native Americans. However, they separated us as the freedmens and put the copper tone on one side as the freedmens. And we were offered a little bit next to nothingness. Most of us thought that we were going to go on and inherit 160 acres in addition to our mule and our 150 cash dollar bills, y'all. But we never gained those substance. Now they're telling leaders that you can find your heritage, claim your sovereignty, and become a nation. Are we going to fall for the okie doke a second time? While the world and the sky is falling, they're giving us an ethnicity and a nationalization. Why does everybody feel that they have the right to give us our ethnicity? We know who we are. We are African Americans, or shall I say Africans. The question here today is to be or not to be an African. We've got to stop with this nonsense about we don't know who we are. We clearly know who we are, ladies and gentlemen. You have always known who you are. Now, this ruckus about, well, you know, the Africans were the first to sell you into slavery. Hell, all of them did, even the 5 civilized tribes. They were told to give us the opportunity to claim a nation in their tribe. They were also told to give us some land from our so-called indigenous brothers and sisters, but they refused to. And Bruce, do you know what they did? They put us out, Lorraine, on the side of the road, Pastor Frank, and we were supposed to be their brothers and sisters who we held position as indentured servitude in their homes. And when the colonizers came, they set us outside of the road with our trucks and all of our belongings. And they never gave us a dime of the money nor entrance into the nations called the 5 civilized tribes. And we were never given any of the money that was betrothed to us. As a matter of fact, all treaties were broken. Now, here we are at the 1300th hour in the 21st century, still scrounging around, talking about we're going to form our nation, we're going to identify ourselves with the indigenous people so they can fool us a second time and beat us out of Africa this time. Well, you fooled me once, but you sure can't fool me twice. People, you need to get ready because the caravan is coming. The caravan is coming just so as Africa advance and gain their country back, we too will gain our country back as well. But we cannot be denouncing our African side of the land, and we cannot be claiming only indigenous. It's okay to claim your indigenous aboriginal, but you better not forget to claim your African heritage, because therein lies where you inherit the minerals of the earth and the diamonds of the earth and Arcadia land, where milk and honey is. We've been knowing that country was full of resources. Why are we acting so foolish now, like we've forgotten that is the land of milk and honey, and we act like we got something here to prove when this country's going bankrupt and losing every damn thing they got and putting people on freeload and shutting the country down? How are you going to get something from this country? How they going to hand you something when they still got federal workers in line waiting for their jobs back? How are you waiting for something when they're taking your food stamps away? And then you're going to tell me I'm an Aborigine and they're going to give us our land. Keep believing that. We established that for our own cognizance, not to get any handouts from them, because whatever we get this time, we got to take it. We can't wait for them to line us up and stamp our hands and make promises to us. We are the people that have believed promises just like children. We're no longer children. And when we become a full-grown man, we do the things that a full-grown man or woman do. We do for self. So we can't go on with this nonsense about we're going to have our tribe. Yes, it's okay to sit and smoke a peace pipe and talk things over, but you got to have some money to go with it. And if they're not passing out any money because they can't make any more, because there's no gold to back it up, then we better go where they make the diamonds and gold at. And there's nothing wrong with saying that we want to be aligned with our African brothers and sisters who have riches over there. They're releasing those colonizers off the land so they can make room for you and I. But we're still talking stupid because now we're wearing the headdress, John. We're wearing the headdress and we're walking around proud and pompous and proud because now we have a heritage. What if you have a heritage? What shall you do with your heritage now that you found out you have a heritage? You've always had an heritage, and you didn't need anyone to tell you that you were an Indian. Hell, you a chief and not an Indian. So why take the position of an Indian when you can be a chief? It's very vital that we have to come to our senses on this Dr. Martin Luther King's Day. He would want for us to realize it's okay to go across the water like Garvey wanted us to. It's okay to establish our heritage. There was no movement as great as the Garveyite movement. And we can do it again. We can reestablish ourselves again. We can do it again. But just like our President Obama said, we can do it again. We can do it again. But we cannot do it again if we are so busy being tied to this front land called Turtle Island and talking about how we were here first. Yes, we were here first. We were here first in every category, in every country. That is already understandable. But why fight for a land where you are going to have to scuffle with your colonizers in order to gain? They're in Ghana, waiting for you to hand you the baton, to pass you the baton so that you can lead and guide them. Take your degrees and your PhDs and EDDs and use them there where you can be crowned as kings and queens and carry on like the people that you are. You are Gentile royal people that have the capability because you have been schooled and you have been trained in all aspects of the United States. Yes, you're in demand, but nobody here in America seems to know your value. Nobody seems to know your value, and they don't want to pay you for your skills. They want you to give your skills up for free. They still got grown men bucking and jerking and jumping through hoops and performing acrobatic positions out on the football field. And we call that making it in society. Well, if you got land that is producing and you can live off the land, and if you've got milk and honey flowing where you don't need to have employment, you just need to go out and clear the land and work for the diamonds. Who is it that doesn't mind getting their hands dirty to look for diamonds? And I'm not talking about blood diamonds. I'm talking about diamonds that they can mine for. We got to wake up. We haven't done any better since Dr. Martin Luther King slipped into darkness. And we haven't gone forward because there's so much division amongst us that we don't believe in self anymore. Garvey told us we could do for self. He told us to do for self. And he conditioned us where we could work for ourselves and we could be on top of the grain house. Now, here we are after 400 odd years of coming out of slavery, and we're waiting for them to make the next move. We've got to put them on the defense. We cannot wait for them to make the next move. We must be in a defensive mode, and we must strike out for our freedom. We must strike out for our freedom. Because marching over the bridges and down the streets didn't get us anything but oops upside the head. But look at us now. How many of us have a value of $250,000 household? Well, right there in the statistics of Massachusetts, Boston, Massachusetts, the Caucasian had over $250,000 per household, while the African American only had a value of worth of $8 per household. I don't care how many of you are making $50,000 a year. I've made that in my lifetime too. They know exactly how to make sure that your money is all strapped. You're strapped out because every dime you make is going out. And there is no residual left for you to bank or put aside. So you're living off of every dollar you get when you get that so-called raise. I don't care that it's you now at 50, 60, 70,000. I've been there too. But once you are mapped out at a certain amount of taxes, your money is going out the door instead of in the door. And our self-worth, we don't own a whole lot, but we can own the whole country in Africa. We can own the whole country in Africa. With the little bit of education we have, taking that to the motherland can land us opportunities to work for ourselves and be a tiller of the soil and to mine for ourselves. Dr. Martin Luther King would turn over in his grave if he knew we were still struggling to come up from the lower socioeconomic level. Half of the households are making less than $17,000 a year and beneath the level of the poverty list. So now we've got to come together and say, I'm not looking for a nationality. I'm looking for dual citizenship somewhere in another country where my money spends rather slow. But we cannot do that if we are busy trying to identify ourselves. Everybody knows that the Nubian skin that is burnt on our face, it identifies us with our homeland. That's all we need to know. All this other scooping around, looking for your indigenous blood barium is something to keep you busy so you won't be aware of what is going on around you. Look around you, brothers and sisters. There's much more going on than a wall. the Trump proposals that he's putting up. Most of those workers for the federal government, look around you, who are they? There are Black brothers and sisters who work for the federal government who are now out of work. Sounds like they're trying to displace a large group of people that might be our brothers and sisters. And from my understanding, they think that they can make deals that we don't know anything about, that includes us. But we're too busy to see that because we need to know what our indigenous nationality is so we can walk around with the peace pipe and sit in a circle and do the powwow. Don't believe the okie doke people. Don't fall for it. They've taken up enough of our time, and they haven't lined up anyone to say, hey, you come and get your reparation check. Come on over here and get it. You know you do it. How many of us have had that phone call? Well, if you haven't, and all you're claiming is indigenous, then I tell you, you can keep that. But give me the passport for dual citizenship, because we have to do international business. We have to be a part of the new Africa. And they already prophesied there will be an American-African world. And that's what they're putting together now. And we're not even a part of it because we're too busy fighting over who is going to be the chief and who's going to be the Indian. Well, you know what? A lot of those Native Americans are still living at the sub-level, poverty level, down in these so-called trenches. They're not prospering. They're not. And you and I can fall for the okie doke and we won't be prospering either. But we are trying to make the big game. We want to get over the grain house. And since there's no grain house left here in the United States of America, we must go back to our homeland where there's a grain house that we can profit from. Now, I said I was going to do some poetry for Nikki Giovanni. And Nikki, I'm going to have to catch you up on a ring check because we have business to talk about here that is more important right now. And I'm taking a little time to do this because I want everyone to know that we've all put our heads together. We've all in this country, and that we were free people. We all knew that our mothers and fathers didn't come over on ships, but that doesn't mean that there was no transatlantic slave trade. There was. Let's not blot it out of our mind. All in exchange for hoping that we're Native. All in exchange for hoping that we're indigenous. We know that that transpired, and we know that a lot of our loved ones made their transition from blows to the head and from beatings. And the person that did it might be pointing the finger and say, it wasn't me, it wasn't my family, but they all benefited from it, and they're still benefiting from it. And no one wants to look at giving us reparation. How sad, how sad. No one wants to even think about what Abraham Lincoln was about to do. He wanted to